Hello everyone, I'm back with another video, and this time it's going to be, as I said, biblical, studying biblical Hebrew. We are going to dive into Psalms. It's one of my favorite books in the Bible. It's very long, it has 150 chapters, as you know, and we're going to dive in, we're going to learn some words, and at the end talk a little bit about the meaning. So let's go to my favorite verse, one of my favorite verses in Psalms. So, one of my favorite Psalms in the Bible is Psalm 127. First, let's talk about the meaning of the word Psalms. Psalms in Hebrew is Tehillim, and Tehillim means it's from the root or from the verb lehalel, which means to praise, to worship. So, as it says, it's most of the Psalms are praising and worshiping God. The numbers are different than in the way they are used in the West. For example, Psalm 127 in Hebrew, it's going to be Tehillim Kuf Yud Zayin, and that's because in Hebrew every letter has its equivalent numeral equivalent, which would be Kuf would be 100, Yud would be 10, and Zayin would be 7. So let's just read it first in Hebrew. שיר המעלות לשלמה, אם אדוני לא יבנה בית, שב עמלו בוניו בו, אם אדוני לא ישמור עיר, שב שקד שומר. And in English, a song for pilgrims ascending to Jerusalem, a psalm of Solomon. Unless the Lord builds a house, the work of the builders is wasted. Unless the Lord protects a city, guarding it with sentries will do no good. Now, the interesting thing, I chose a translation, New Living Translation, and I'm going to use different translations so that you can see how close it is to the Hebrew meaning. This is quite free, I would say, this translation. It's not exactly, the meaning is the same, but it's a little bit, it gives more freedom to explain the verse. But I just want to say that I love this verse because I think everything we do, if God is not in it, it's a waste of time. Basically, this is how I try to live my life. So if I see that something is of no good, we need to, of course, to pray and to see, because sometimes we think that things we do have no meaning, and they do. But this is something I try to live my life according to. So just really pray, and everything we do, everything we say, that to make it useful, to make it for the kingdom. Okay, so this is something that I think is really important. So let's now go to the vocabulary. So let's look at the vocabulary, okay? Milim chadashot, you see in the beginning of this slide, and it means new vocabulary. Milim are words, but this is modern Hebrew, okay? In biblical Hebrew, you would say dvarim. Davar is like, it's a word in biblical Hebrew. So we have Adonai, the Lord, okay? In Hebrew, you write Yehovah or Jehovah in English, but I told you, I think already, that it's not very common to say God's name. We learn at school that we are not to say his name, his explicit name. So I was just more comfortable, and I'm used to saying Adonai, which means my Lord. So that's the first word that we need to know. Ivne is the future tense of will build, vone or boneh. Then we have vait or bait in modern Hebrew, and it means a house, but it also means a home, a house, dwelling. We have ishmor ir, which is the future tense. Ishmor is the future tense of shomer, which means keep, guards. So we have will keep, guard, and ir is a city. Then we have the word shakad, and that means it's the past tense of kept or watched diligently. We have shomer, which means a guard, a keeper, a watchman. You can find it in Isaiah 62:6. I put watchman on Jerusalem. And the last one is shav, in vain, useless, or to no avail. So as I said before, I think these words are very important. We'll look at some of them in the end, and just to understand again the meaning. If God is not in something, if he doesn't keep something, if it's not his will, if we're doing something on our own, it's lashav, it's in vain, it's useless, and it's gonna burn out at the end. So let's go to the next psalm. Okay, the next psalm, we will start with Psalm 1. We'll just go through the first two verses. You would see that there is enough vocabulary there, and let's begin. I'm going to read in Hebrew. אשרי האיש אשר לא הלך בעצת רשעים, ובדרך חטאים לא עמד, ובמושב לצים לא ישב, כי אם בתורת אדוני חפצו, ובתורתו יהגה יומם ולילה. And in English, blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the wicked, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of scoffers, but his delight is in the law of Jehovah, and on his law doth he meditate day and night. So as you can see, I don't remember exactly the translation I took it from. I think it's from American King James. It's more, it's closer to the Hebrew, the biblical Hebrew, but as you can see, it's a little harder as well. So let's look at the vocabulary that we have there. We have ashrei, blessed. Then we have walked or walked in modern English, halach, in the council, be'etzat, reshaim, wicked, stood, amad, bederech, way, chataim, sinners. We have seated or seats, yashav, seat, moshav, of scoffers. These are letzim, ki im betorat. Torat is the law of God. Adonai chefzo. Chefzo is like his delight, his love. Uvetorato, again, in the law of God. Yehageh, meditate. Yomam, day. Yom is day. Yomam is all days. Valayla, and night. So let's go to the vocabulary and we'll just go over it. Ashrei. Okay, these are the vocabulary. Ashrei, we have the first word, blessed. You could find it also in the New Testament many times. Blessed is the one who, ashrei ha'ish. Then we have walked, as I said before, halach. Lalechet is the infinitive. Holech, this is modern Hebrew. We use it today as well. In the council of be'etzat, you would use etza as advice in modern Hebrew. Etza is the counsel, advice, wicked. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this word in the last slide, but reshaim, rasha is wicked. Sinners, chataim, chote is one sinner, chataim, many sinners. Walked, amad. In the seat of bemoshav is from the word lashevet. And then we have scoffers, letzim. I will talk a little bit at the end about the word letzim. It's interesting that in modern Hebrew you would use the word leitzan, which is a clown, litlotzetz, to have fun or make fun of something. Yoshev, modern Hebrew as well, lashevet, yoshev, he sat. Betorat Adonai, in the law of the Lord. Derech, way, also modern Hebrew. Yehageh, this is a special word, meditate, think. It's not a modern word for and also biblical word for to think is lachshov, but most often when you think about actually meditate on something or to think deeply about something is more from the word lehagot, yehageh. Then we have day, yom, but yomam is all days, and night, valayla. So these are the new vocabulary, and let's go to the specific meaning. So just for interest, I found some interesting things here. I don't know if you know the site Dicta. I really recommend it for everyone who wants to study biblical Hebrew. So we have the word Adonai mentions 5,790 times in the Old Testament. Everything here is according to the Old Testament. Yehovah, it's also from the word Hoveh, which is now. I just find it interesting that God, when Moses asks God, oh, what is your name? And he says, I am, right? And it's like, I am, I would say it's like I'm here, I'm now. It's the God, of course, is the God of the past, the present, and the future. But there is something special about the God who is present now. So the God who is with you now. So Yehovah, or the word present. But that's one of the Lord's name. You find it many times in the Bible. As I said, Jews do not pronounce his name. They would say Adonai when they see this name. Then we have the word Bait or Vait, and I found it according to Dicta 1,403 times in the Bible. Interesting, in the Old Testament. Bait is a home, is a house, a dwelling place. Again, important word. Shomer, 570 times and 7 times. It's the keeping, watching. It's also many times you'd say we need to God put us as watchmen, and it's an interesting important word as well. Chet, according to Dicta, 495 times in the Bible. It's from the word lachti, which is to miss the goal, miss the point. Just interesting that to sin, chet is basically sin. It not only means to do something wrong, but is to miss our purpose, to miss the meaning, to miss whatever God has for us. And I find it also interesting, that we are not to sit with people according to the Psalms of, how would I say it, that miss the point, do not do what God called them to do. Interesting. And then it very important word is Rasha. I want to a little bit stay there. Rasha is wicked. It's 330 times in the Old Testament, and the word to condemn also has the same root le'arshia. Now, if you think about who is the wicked, who is Rasha, interesting is in Genesis 6:5 you can see, and God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. Or Isaiah 53:6, all we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned everyone to his own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. I just think that it's interesting. You can agree or disagree with me on that, but I think all of us are actually wicked, and it's only by the blood of Yeshua that we are cleansed. And that's why this is not a verse to use. I mean, the Psalm 1 and 2 are verses to use as to look down at other people that are not as holy, quote unquote, as us, but to understand that God delivered us from our wickedness, and we are to help and pray for others to be delivered from their wickedness. So just find it interesting there. Torah, 214 times in the Old Testament, and it means more than just Torah. It's instructions, law, more than just law, because Torah is usually translated as law. It's, as I said, instructions, regulations. God uses it a lot when he gives instructions, and then he says, keep my instructions, my law, my word. You could even maybe translate it into God's word in a way. Chefzo is delight, to delight in something. You can find it 118 times in the Old Testament. Basically that God's will should be a delight to our hearts, should be not something that is, just religious, but something that we desire to do. I would say desire is also close in its meaning. Shaked, we can find it 20 times. Interesting, in Jeremiah 11:1 and 2, you can read it. It's when Jeremiah sees the tree, because it's also a name of the tree that Jeremiah sees in 21 in chapter 11, 1 and 2, and it means to diligently do something. I think this is also a very important verb. We are to diligently follow the Lord, I would say, lishkod, not to do things, everything we do, to do it diligently as God shows us. We can also it's also interesting that you can find in the Old Testament where they did diligently evil things, so of course we are to diligently follow the Lord and keep his word. And the last one is let's. It's we can find it 16 times. It's interesting. You find it in the not Ecclesiastic, Proverbs. You can find it. Interesting that if you look at the meaning of let's, you find that it's not only someone who makes fun of things, scoffer, as it is, as we translated before, but someone who doesn't accept reproof. Someone who doesn't want to accept criticism, like building criticism. Yeah, sometimes we do need to put boundaries, but someone who doesn't accept reproof. Just find it interesting. So these are the vocabulary for today, and hope you enjoyed it. Hope it was useful, and God bless you. Keep praying for Israel, and see you in the next video. Shalom.